Dear students, this is a short lecture on the drama in the Tudor times. When we speak of the Tudor drama, the essence lies in the Elizabethan period. So, Elizabethan drama is a term of significance. When we consider the development of drama into the Tudor times or the Elizabethan period, and if you observe it from the point when drama arose in England, that's the period 2 centuries back, we can understand a shift from the church to the marketplace. Drama, when it originated in England, that is mostly religious, connected with religious observations in the church. But now the mystery plays and other biblical stories lost their attraction to the people. And they wanted to see something that will ventilate the concerns of the day. So the Elizabethan theatre began to present such themes. The theatres were mainly in London, erected by companies outside the city on the south bank of River Thames. In this picture, one is a graphic which portrays the various theatres on the banks of Thames. And on the right, you have a picture of the Globe Theatre. Now please observe the picture here. This is a representation of an Elizabethan theatre. It was almost circular in shape, like an amphitheatre. They had a tiring house, a place where the actors can rest, enter into some makeup. And there was the stage. Beyond that, there was an open roofed area that was for the groundlings, the people who came in for the lowest rate of tickets. Surrounding that was tiers of roofed galleries, which was occupied by the wealthy people. And in the theaters, we didn't have any curtains. There was no front curtain, no back curtain, no background scenery. And so the audience, they were more trained to listen. So that's why in the plays of Shakespeare, we have a play upon words. Rather than reading a play, the audience, they were trained to catch up the nuances of the sound. So there was much of alliteration, rhymes, everything. You had that in the Shakespeare plays or the Elizabethan plays. And the plays had a universal appeal. It was in the theaters, it was enacted for the ordinary people. And the same play could be enacted for the nobility in their houses, their halls. ഈ രണ്ട് കൂട്ടർക്കും ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്ന വിധത്തിലായിരുന്നു ഈ കഥകളൊക്കെ പോയിരുന്നത്. Now let's see something about the plays. It will be good to make a mental note of every writer and the play related to that. We have two farces, Ralph Royce Doyce and Camerton's Needle. Then there is Gorboduc by Thomas Aquinas and Thomas Norton. Then comes the university wigs. They were men trained in the university. They were the first commercial playwrights, 3 from Cambridge and 2 from Oxford. Then we have John Lilly, whose plays reflected courtly refinement, and Thomas Kidd, noted for his revenge play, The Spanish Tragedy, the plot of which was later transformed for Shakespeare's Hamlet. Christopher Marlowe, he would have been a challenge to Shakespeare had he not died in a tavern brawl. The most noted play is The Tragic History of Dr. Faustus. He is known for his blank verse, referred to as Marlowe's mighty line. Ben Jonson, a friend and nearest rival of Shakespeare, his comedies and his satires. And now we come to Shakespeare. He was born in Stratford, moved over to London. He started from the bottom of the ladder of the Elizabethan theatre to be an actor, dramatist, and finally a shareholder in the company Lord Chamberlain's Players. More than 2 decades of playwriting. The first decade, we have 9 plays called after the kings of England, 10 comedies and 2 non-historical plays. The second decade, all the other plays, the true comedies, the great tragedies, and the Roman plays. And the last play, The Tempest, which is now interpreted to be a colonial text. His history plays, there are 10 in total, based on the Chronicles of Hollandshire. There are 2 independent plays, King John and Henry VIII. Then you have 2 sequences, 4 plays each. This is connected with the history that we are learning. The first sequence, which actually represents the second part of history, we can call it the York plays or the Yorkist tetralogy, because the themes relate to the times when the Yorks were in power during the Wars of the Roses. There are 4 plays, Henry VI in 3 parts and Richard III. After that comes the second tetralogy, which reflects to an earlier period in chronology. We call it the Lancastrian tetralogy because it relates to the times of when the Lancastrians were in power. We have Richard II, Henry IV in 2 parts, and Henry V in 4 parts. Henry V total 4 plays. Here, the Elizabethan writers follow a convention. Shakespeare also followed that. The play is titled with the name of the monarch, the ruling monarch, but that person may not be the real hero in the play. We call him the titular monarch, the titular title. So in Richard II, the hero is actually Henry Bolingbroke or the next king, Henry IV. But because in the time the play is presented, it is Richard II on the throne. So we see Richard II on the throne, and we see his fight with Henry Bolingbroke. We see Henry Bolingbroke deposing the king. Henry Bolingbroke assumes power as the king, but the play is titled Richard II. So these plays, though they were plays about kings, they were not stories just about the nobility, but about the common man also. So they have a universal value. We have popular characters like Falstaff, Sir John Falstaff. The comedies of Shakespeare are of different types. You have the comedies of intrigue with witty dialogues. Then the comedies reflect a life in unison with nature. Then there are the tragicomedies, which are expressions of the bitter reality. If you try to recollect the story of the Merchant of Venice, you will understand that there is a bitter reality, the greed for money, the difficulty to attain your goal of your love relation. And in Troilus and Cressida, we see, though it's considered to be a comedy, we see the features of comedy, tragedy, and farce in that. And the tragedies of Shakespeare, you have the experimental tragedies, Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar is a Roman play. Then the great tragedies, the 4 tragedies, where you have one particular flaw in the character which causes its downfall. Hamlet, revenge causes the downfall. Othello is a domestic tragedy. King Lear, a social tragedy. And Macbeth, a tragedy of ambition. Another noted play is Antony and Cleopatra, which is a Roman play. It's a heroic tragedy. Concluding this discussion, we come to the 4 romances of Shakespeare: Pericles, Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale, and The Tempest. The great bard, the Bard of Avon, Tempest is considered to be his last play, where we see Prospero breaking off his magic wand. And it is believed that Shakespeare himself is doing that because he's signing off from the stage, marking the conclusion of his great career. So this about the Elizabethan drama, focusing more on Shakespeare. I hope you will This will help you for a better understanding and a proper study. Thank you.